Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. There's a link in our bio for our Discord server where you can join in on the discussions, give us your takes, give us comments, or just join in on a podcast. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
What is up, Rip City? This is Alex. This is going to be a very strange podcast, first of its kind. Tonight, I am joined by none other than myself. Fawad's not feeling good, Mike's not feeling good, so I'm running at it solo tonight. So this is going to be interesting. Not quite sure what to expect. I have a feeling this is going to be a quick podcast, but, I felt like, why not do it? We got so much to talk about. So, as I'm recording this, we're playing the Utah Jazz, and it is the fourth quarter. We're down 10 points with 10 and a half minutes left. It's been a strange game. It's been a lot of open threes for them and a lot of open threes for us. Unfortunately, it's the same thing as always, as our three-point defense is terrible, and they're not missing. Thankfully, neither are we, but something's got to change if we're going to come back and win this game. But with that being said, I'm going to jump in. Like I said, it's probably going to be a quick podcast since it's just myself talking. I'm going to just jump into the recap real quick. It's not going to be anything too special since we won't have much to talk about. I'm sure you guys don't want to just listen to me talk nonstop. So, we didn't talk about the Denver game in our podcast last time, I don't believe. But it was kind of a strange game because Jokic wasn't going to be there. So it kind of felt like a game that we not only had to win, but should have won. And thankfully we did win. And the score of that game was 119 to 100. And really, it never was really in doubt that we were in control the whole game. I don't think there was any point that we were losing after a quarter. So McCollum had a really good game. Actually, that was probably one of his best games of the season. He shot 13 of 19. Really, there's not much I can say. I'm sure a lot of you guys watched that game. I think it was on TNT, so hopefully most of you guys caught it. And actually, I think that was one that we did on the watch party. So we had a good amount of people watching it in the watch party. So that was fun. But really, we won that game. It wasn't too competitive. It was kind of us just not giving up the lead the entire time, which was nice to see. But that was our last home game of I think it was a 4-game stand that we won each game. I don't want to be wrong here. I think it was. Yeah, we won all 4 home games. We go on the road the next night to Sacramento, which felt like this was a must-win game because not only was it a road game, but it was against Sacramento, who's a struggling team. And then the next 2 games we had were Golden State, and then this game tonight, Utah on the road. And so it felt like this was a must-win game, not only for our issues on the road, but most likely the only game that we had a good chance of winning and it not being like an upset. And the game started out, it was a weird game. There was a weird feel to it. It never felt like we were really in control the whole time. And unfortunately, we ended up losing. In the last quarter, the second half, we kind of gave up a lot. We ended up losing 125 to 121 to the Kings, which unfortunately is we have now lost to them at home. They're our only home loss, and another road loss. So the Kings are the only team I think to beat both home and away. And that's kind of an embarrassing thing to say because the Kings haven't beat too many people. That game, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, CJ had a terrible, terrible game. It was tough to watch. Nurkic, Had a really good game, actually. He had 17 rebounds. It was pretty impressive. I mean, I know they don't have much size down there, but it was still good to see him engaged, and he was the whole game. He was pretty much in that mode of just dominating, which is good to see and what we need to see more consistently. And then Lillard had a pretty good game. He didn't shoot very well from three. He was 3 of 12, but he did have 10 assists and 6 rebounds, and he finished with 32 points. But the 3 of 12 did kind of hurt us. But it was weird at halftime. Covington with like 1 second left, and before half threw his mask, and it went towards the official, and the official tossed him. So that was weird. And then after halftime, there was a technical foul. Actually, as we were walking to the locker room, Scott Brooks got ejected, and they had free throws once the third quarter started. But Nasir Little once again played high energy basketball like we're kind of growing used to seeing. So that was nice to see. But unfortunately, the one game that we all felt was a win and was a must win because of the situation, unfortunately, did not end out in our favor. Which then brings us to Golden State, which we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but there's a poll that I posted, and I kind of wanted to see what everyone thought. But it was essentially the Steph Curry show, which we've grown, unfortunately, too used to seeing against us. I think I've said this before, that as much as he kills us every year, and like just that team's always in the playoffs and always at the finals, you can't help but respect what he's done. He's changed the game. He's without a doubt the greatest shooter of all time. There's just every time he does something, it's just the shots he makes. It just doesn't even seem like he's trying. It just looks like he's throwing up shots, and they always go in. It's the craziest thing. And I saw a stat today, and I don't want to quote the exact numbers, so don't take this for official, but it was something like he's shooting 51% from three when someone is near him, like within 3 feet or something like that. He's shooting better with someone near him or in his face than he's shooting wide open threes, which is just insane. Unfortunately, we lost that game 118 to 103, and once again, it was a close game up to halftime. Maybe the last couple minutes, the Warriors kind of built a lead on it, but up until about then, in that second quarter, it was a close game, and the normal third quarter run that the Warriors somehow always go on. From there, it was just us clawing our way just to make it a close game, but it was an ugly game. Lillard struggled. He was 5 of 15 for only 16 points. CJ struggled. He was 6 of 17 for 16 points. And if I remember right, I think Norman Powell even got hurt towards the end of this game. I think this is the game he got hurt in. He ended up leaving. I think it was at least in the third quarter. It might have even been the fourth. The one bright spot that we did have, though, was Simons was pulling a mini Steph almost. He was sticking it to him. And he started off a little slow, but he picked it up in the second half, and he was the main reason why the game was closer towards the end. It was a weird game, and I don't know how many of you guys caught it, but you probably know Warriors are playing unbelievable right now, even without Thompson, and it was on the road. It was going to be a tough game for us to win, especially coming off of that loss to the Kings. I mean, I was hoping we'd come out with a lot of energy and kind of blow them out, but it just didn't seem like it was our night, which unfortunately has been happening a lot on the road. But unfortunately, we're going up against one of the best players to ever play in the NBA, and it's fun to watch. I mean, I can't hate him. You got to enjoy watching it, even when it's against you. As much as you hate to lose and see it, at least Curry always puts on a show. He does some insane things. Which then leads us to the game right now. It's not looking good for us. It's against Utah, like I said. Right now, there's I don't know what the score is. It's on commercial. So actually, I can't tell you the score. So we'll just not worry about that. It's not looking good. When I saw it, though, we were still down by at least 10. It's 105 to 94. I got it pulled up right here with 7.5 minutes left. it's the same issue that we've been having for not only this year, but years and years. Our defense is just, it's not there. And I joined that Twitter Spaces today, and I encourage you guys, if you guys have Twitter, go in there and join it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good talk going in there, and it's fun to hear everyone's opinions. But we talked about changes needing to be made, and at this point, it's just a repeat every year. We're just doing the same things every year, and I think a lot of us understand that, and a change is needed. And if that change is trading CJ, which I think majority of us are okay with that idea at this point, we can't keep going out with the same small ball lineup of Lillard, CJ, and Norm. Norm is not a 3. I mean, it's just he's undersized at 3. He can't play that. He's a good 2. Honestly, he's probably a little undersized for the 2, but he at least plays more physical defense at the 2. So we got to move on from the small lineup. Even if that means keeping them and having CJ come off the bench or Norm, I would prefer probably Norm starting over CJ at this point. But there is change that needs to be made. I think a lot of us can agree. It's nothing against CJ. It's nothing against any player, honestly. It's just, at this point, it's just a repeat every year. We're just hoping for a different outcome, and it's never going to change. Even if Billups is as good of a defensive coach as we think he can be, you can't make these players feel's not the right word. I guess you can't make these players execute on defense better than they already are. They're in the league for this long. They're not going to develop these crazy tendencies all of a sudden to play better defense. So unfortunately, I have a feeling by trade deadline, this roster that we have is going to look a lot different. I don't know if that's going to be CJ gone, if that's Nurk gone, if that's Covington gone, Simon's gone. Something's got to change, or else we're going to be fighting for a play-in seed and probably a first-round exit, which all of us are extremely tired of. There's just too many issues on defense, and we can't, with what our roster is now, we can't make the change. I think one of our biggest issues is our on-ball defense. Our guards are getting beat on ball defense every single time. If they're guarding someone, that player almost 90% of the time is getting past them, whether it's with a screen or without a screen, which then is causing Nurkic or the help side defense to rotate in to help, and then it's just a ball movement till someone's wide open for a shot. So just right off the bat, our defense, our on-ball defense is probably, I don't know. When I watch the other teams play us, they don't have the same issues as we do. Our guards aren't getting open just off of them dribbling. And it seems like every player against us is just driving to the basket off of, dribbling and getting straight to the basket. So change is needed. Like I said, I don't sound like a broken clock right now. I'm just repeating myself, but change is needed. And until that changes happen, I don't see us doing anything. And I know Dame said he's in it for the long haul and he understands, but it's got to be frustrating to want this to work out so bad, and it's not working out. Our defense is just, it's what's killing us, and it's what's been killing us, and I don't think it's Billups' fault. I think a lot of us understand it's just what the roster we have. It's not going to work. One note I wanted to make on this game tonight is because Norman Powell got injured in the Golden State Warriors game, they had to make a change in the starting lineup because obviously Norman Powell wasn't playing. And kind of surprising to a lot of people, I mean probably almost everybody, they decided to replace Norman Powell with Tony Snell instead of Nasir Little, which a lot of people thought that was the right choice to do. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. I actually kind of like the idea of having Snell start. Just because he's starting doesn't mean he has to replace the minutes that Norman Powell was playing. But but he gives us a little bit better defense at the 3. He's a little bit longer. He's still a very good 3-point shooter. But at this point in the season, it's still early. It's getting closer to, mid-season, but messing around with the roster just to see what you have. We know what Little can do for us, and I agree that he deserves the start probably. And I would think if we were to move CJ, I think Little would be a great 3. But I think just trying it out, seeing what Snell can do for us was a good idea. He hasn't played terrible. I didn't expect him to make a big impact. What I said from the get-go was I just expect him to play good defense, and then anything we get out of after that is just a cherry on the top. So any rebound, any assist, any block, I guess block goes with defense, but any 3, any 2, anything like that, that's just a cherry on top. His main thing is his defense and his 3-point shooting. But we need him when he's in there. We need him for his defense, especially. So he, as of right now, with 5 minutes, he's got 8 points. He's only played 16 minutes. So like I said, he didn't replace Norman's minutes. But he 2 of 5 from 3. That's not terrible. He got 2 rebounds and a steal. And from the moments I did see him, he played pretty good defense. He was at least contesting shots, and that's all you can ask for. Obviously, I think Nas is the better choice to start, and I think everyone probably knows that, but I had no problem with them trying out Snell to see what they had. But it was a game we probably weren't going to win in the first place, so I don't have an issue with them trying something. And as I look right now, the score is 116-99, 4 minutes left. It's not looking good. I don't see us coming back. Which leads me to the last thing I wanted to talk about, and it has to do with what I talked about earlier with Steph. I put a poll out in Discord. So if you're listening and you haven't joined Discord yet, I highly suggest you join. We talk a lot in there. We do those watch parties there. It's just all these Blazer fans in here talking and having a good time, and it's not just all podcast stuff. We talk a lot in there. But anyways, I posted a poll and I asked for your guys' opinions on it, and it was a pretty simple question. It's who would you rather have as your franchise player for their entire career, and it was either Lillard or Curry. And it's not the accolades that came with Curry or the accolades that come with Dame. It's same situations where our roster is still the same. The contracts are still the same. So, Curry, instead of having whatever his contract is with Golden State, it would be whatever Lillard's is. And my opinion, as much as I love Dame, and he's without a doubt the greatest Blazer in my opinion, Curry is an even better player. And it's not a knock on Dame. He's done so much for us, and I don't take it for granted at all. But I think if you're picking a player out of those two to be on your team, Curry is without a doubt. We might not ever see someone like this again. I've never seen someone do what he's done, and I say the same thing about Lillard. I've never seen people do what he does, but Curry's a better shooter. He's a better passer. He honestly is probably a better defensive player. He's not much better, but he's probably a little bit better. His unselfishness, not saying that Dame is selfish at all, but his unselfishness and his willing to make these passes make his entire team better. I mean, some of the players that are playing right now for Golden State would be, I don't know if we would want them. There's some players on there that might come off the bench for us, but Curry makes these guys look like Jordan Poole, for example. Not knocking him at all. He's a good player, and he's playing great this year. And I know he's on a very good team with great shooters. Curry has a lot to do with that. Lillard is a good shooter, and Lillard is a good playmaker. You don't see these smaller named players going off like Jordan Poole is. And from the votes that I see, I put them in a couple different servers. It's over more siding towards Steph. Just in our server alone, 7 people voted for Steph, 4 people voted for Dame. And I want to stress this. This has nothing to do with us not liking Dame. I love Dame, and it's just, if I had to pick between those two who I would pick, that's who I went with. And then in the other servers, I think I had one server I posted really late. It was 3 for Steph and 2 for Dame. And then another server, which I posted around the same time, had 6 for Steph and 1 for Dame. So I think we all know Dame is a great player, and we love him, and we appreciate everything he does for us. But if we had the choice between those two, I think it's fair to say Curry would be the choice. And that's not a knock on Dame. I think Curry would be a choice for a lot of people, for any team. So it's just an interesting poll because just watching him, he does so much, and it's crazy. And I know we say the same thing about Lillard. He does so much for us, and it's crazy what he does. But they're, unfortunately, it's almost like they're on 2 different planets. And you wouldn't think that with what Lillard's done for us, but unfortunately, Curry's just maybe 1 step ahead of him. And not to be a Warriors fan or a Curry fan, it's just some of the stuff he does is crazy. But we love Dame. I'm happy we have Dame. I mean, there's no other point guard I would rather have over Dame besides Curry. And that's still not even like, I still want Dame. What he does for our community, what he does for Portland, what he does for his own community, you just don't see that. And how loyal he is, you don't see that. Not many players can say they've stuck with a team that's never won a championship and has really only made 1 run at it, and stuck through it. So nothing but respect for what Lillard's done. And, we all love Lillard, and we all appreciate all the hard work he does for us, playing through injury, playing when there's games when we're like, he's the only reason we're in this game is because he's 60 points and, we're barely squeaking these wins out. So we love Lillard and everything he does for us. But it just was a fun poll, and I appreciate the people that did take part in it. But that was it. I just was curious what everyone thought. I thought maybe if I was crazy or not. I had to be unbiased. That's what, the point of this podcast is to be as unbiased as we can be. So I'm glad to know I wasn't alone. It looks like we're getting the bench players in, so hopefully we're going to see a Greg Brown highlight coming up. He just tried to do a step back 3. He missed it, unfortunately. One other thing I wanted to add before I wrap this up. We hit 100 followers on Twitter. So I want to just give a shout out to everybody that's joined, followed us on Twitter. We're trying to be more active in Twitter. At first, we weren't very active in it, but I think it's a good way to talk with everybody, just the same as Discord is. So I want to give a shout out to every single person that's followed us on Twitter. We appreciate whether you listen or not, whether you talk to us or not. We appreciate every single one of you. It doesn't matter. So I just want to, all of us, I'm talking for Fawad and Mike too. We appreciate it. Thank you for following us. And if you are listening right now, thank you for joining us on this journey. It's something we started for fun, and we never expected even 5 people to listen to it. So we appreciate it. Once again, I'm just going to shout out, if you guys do have Twitter, the spaces that they put on there, it's a fun place to go in and talk with everybody. Hear opinions. You don't even have to talk. You can just join and listen. Kind of like a live podcast almost. And just, sit and listen to what people have to say. There's a lot of people that go to the game, so there's in-arena experiences that they're talking about that we don't get to see from watching at home. It's a lot of fun. Other than that, as always, if you are following us and haven't joined our Discord, join our Discord. Get involved with talking with us. Or if you don't want to join Discord or don't have it, you can talk to us on Twitter. Give us opinions. Give us takes. Whatever you want. And I know we talked about it a little bit before. If you are listening on Apple, if you feel inclined to do so, leave a review for us. It's just, we want to know what we can do better at, or what you do like or what you don't like. And same on Twitter. You can leave us a review there. Leave us in Discord if you got something to say. We have no problem with criticism. We want to make this more enjoyable for everybody. It's so weird talking without Fawad and Mike in here. It just feels like I'm rambling, and it's a strange feeling. But if you are listening, I appreciate you for listening. So, like I said, it's a strange podcast, but I felt like there was a couple things I did want to talk about. So hopefully next Monday when we do the next podcast, Mike will be back, Fawad will be back, and we'll have a full-on podcast again. But until then, I just want to stress again how thankful we are for you guys. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. And as always, Rip City, baby.